Joe Cuhaj audio podcast number 517, take one.
Oh, summertime. Oh man, those hot, sweaty, sticky, sultry days of summertime. Sing it, Billy.
Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's
Yeah, the living is easy. I mean, what else can you do, right? The temperature's 95 degrees, humidity 99%. You combine the two and you get a heat index of 285 degrees. Oh, the world slows down. There's nothing to do. Just kick back and enjoy those lazy, hazy, crazy days. Oh, yeah, summertime. And the great part about summertime, though, it's a time to get away. You've been planning it all year long, that big summer vacation. Time for you to get out of that cubicle and away from the computer. Time to get out of that restaurant, the factory you work in, the construction job, wherever you work. Take a break. That summer vacation you've been planning on all year, it's time, and you deserve it. Oh, and I don't have to tell you this. You all know, as a kid, depending on where you live, summertime is great. 2 to 3 months of summer vacation with no algebra, no history, no English, nothing. All you got to do all day is play baseball. With daylight savings time, it gets darker later. And so you'll be out there playing baseball till it's way past dark. And you can't even see the ball coming at you. And the only thing that breaks up the game are the voices of your moms calling you from miles away, echoing down the streets, calling you in for the night. Or maybe you go on out and you catch fireflies. You get a peanut butter jar or an old mason jar. You line the bottom with grass, because that's where you think they live, or that's what they eat. And poke a few holes in the top and catch fireflies. Now, one thing our gang used to love to do is go out to a field. There was a big field in town. And we go out there and just lay back in the lush green grass. All the guys, all the girls. And we just sit there and talk, looking up at the sky, gazing at a myriad of stars. Maybe once in a while a shooting star would go by. It was just fun, just talking, shooting the breeze, getting lost in the stars. Oh, summertime. It's great. But let me tell you, though, there's a great quote by a literary giant. Well, he's a giant if you like fantasy books, okay? His name is George R.R. Martin. That's the author. And he wrote a book, you know it, A Song of Fire and Ice, which later became A Game of Thrones, right, on HBO. And the quote is, "Summer will end soon enough, and childhood as well." Boy, that's deep, isn't it? Summer will end soon enough, and childhood as well. But boy, truer words have never been spoken. And it happens for most of us right at the beginning of summer, just before summer vacation, just as you're in your teenage years, moving from one grade to another, getting into that high school time. And it happens. 3 words are uttered, and it ends your summertime and childhood. That quick. It's like slamming into a wall at 100 miles an hour. Boom, you're done. And you think, once you hear those words, life is over. No more hanging out with your friends. No more, going to the swimming pool or playing baseball all hours of the night. It's over. You'll be working in a sweatshop till the day you die when you hear those words. Oh, yeah, you know the words I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah. Once you hear them, it's over. Childhood is over. You become an adult. You'll be working in a sweatshop the rest of your life. You'll never see your friends again. There'll be no more endless games of baseball, swimming, learning the mysteries of life, namely the opposite sex. No more hanging out in the basement eating 3-week-old pizza, watching the Yankees on TV. It's over. So I took the thought of this in the back of my mind, out of sight, out of mind. If you don't think about it, it won't happen. It's kind of like putting your hands on your ears. La la, can't hear you, la la la. So if you don't think about it, the inevitable will never happen. But that's why they call it inevitable. It's going to happen. And it happened to me. I'm a teenager now, and I'm getting ready for another summer vacation. And it's just a couple of days before our summer break. And my folks put the kibosh on my whole life at that point. I come walking in the house, and there's my old man sitting at the kitchen table like he always does. He's got a can of Schaefer beer there. Schaefer, the one beer to have when you're having more than one. And he's got a newspaper up in front of his face. I can't see his face, but I know he's there. I can hear him talking. I hear him go, drat, darn. Oh, man, he's a numerologist. He follows the lottery numbers daily. He buys tickets from every state in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, because he's going to strike it big one day. And as he says, that's our ticket out. And I'm thinking, ticket out of what? Are we getting out of New Jersey, going to Canada? What? But I never would ask. I knew better. So he's just sitting there looking at his paper. I continue walking through the house and go to the living room. And in there, my mom is sitting there ironing my dad's work shirt, his uniform shirt. And it's got the smoke just kind of ringing her face coming out of the Proctor Silex, all that steam coming up. And the television's on in the background. And I immediately freeze in my tracks when I hear 4 notes. Easily recognizable. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my gosh. It's James Bond, and there's a new movie coming out just in time for summer vacation. And I turn and I stare at the screen, and there's this commercial for the brand new James Bond movie that the announcer says, if you miss this one, you've missed the best 007 ever. Oh man, this is going to be good. And they start talking about the great chase scene. There's a boat chase going down the bayous of Louisiana. They come to a levee, jump the levee, and crash the boat into a swimming pool. Wow. And there's a car chase scene. You got a double-decker bus that's going into a tunnel that's way too low. The bus hits it, and the top level just gets ripped off. Oh, man, this is Bond at his best, right? And it's got a brand new James Bond. His name is Roger Moore, taking over for Sean Connery. Oh, okay, we'll let that go. We'll see how it goes. And Paul McCartney and Wings were going to sing the theme song, Live and Let Die. Man, I'm in my glory. This is going to be really good. But then came the hook. The announcer said, and introducing Jane Seymour as Solitaire. Wow. The heart of this teenage boy skipped at least 20 beats. I was smitten. I don't know about those boat chases now. I want to go see Jane Seymour on the big screen. So I skipped the middleman. I didn't go to my mom. I went right to my dad and stood there behind the paper. And I'm like, yeah, man, Dad, wow, new James Bond movie's coming out. Can I have $2 to go to the movies? And he didn't say a word. I said, yep. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. A lot of great boat chases and all. He didn't say anything yet. He just still studying his paper. I said, yep, gonna be a good one. And finally I hear, yes! And I'm, oh, great. Give me the $2. I want to go to the movies. And he looks over the paper and he realizes that he's derailed the train. And he goes, no. I have a winning set of numbers here. We won the lottery. And then he looked at me and he said, you said you want $2? And I said, yeah. He said, get a job. Oh my God. He said it. He said those words. It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times. Get a job. That's it. Life's over. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know how to get out of this. He said, tell you what, I'm going to run down to the shopping center down the road, and I'm going to turn in my tickets, get our winnings, and you go out there to the shopping center. There's like 20 stores there. Go to a couple of stores, put in an application, see if you can get yourself a job. Oh, man. I am trapped, right? All right, so I get into the company truck with him. You know, he's got that gold van. It's actually a company truck. He was an appliance repairman, and they gave him a truck to use during the day. But by night, it became a family vehicle, and it was a hoot because there was no passenger seat. He built this really sturdy plywood toolbox that he put all of his tools in, and he put that on the passenger side, and that's what Mom and I would sit in whenever we rode in the truck. And it wasn't bolted down or anything. It would slide across the cab every time we made a turn. And right behind the box, there was a calendar that my old man must have had for a decade by now. And it was a calendar that had a picture of Marilyn Monroe, topless no less. And I can tell you that this young teenage boy can verify Marilyn was in fine form during that photo shoot for Playboy. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. So we speed on off. We go to the shopping center. It's called the Interstate Shopping Center. And like I said, there's about 15 or 20 stores there. And they're all your basic stores, you know, women's apparel, shoes, things like that. And my dad says, okay, I'm going to go turn in these tickets. You go in and put in a few applications. Okay, so he goes off into wherever he's going to turn in the tickets. And I'm looking around the shopping center, and I don't want to work at any of these places. You know, I don't want to work. I just don't want to do it. But there's this one sign that stood out It was a big, bright orange sign. It was a store that we had shopped in a number of times, a big department store. And I knew that sign not only from here in the shopping center, but as you're driving down the New Jersey Turnpike or the Garden State Parkway, you can see the New York City skyline. And there was this building with that same sign on top of it. It was a very unique building. It stood out. It was at 1 Astor Plaza. And this building was a big, tall building that had a crown shape on top of it. That's how they built this thing. And on that crown was these same gold orangish letters. And it just like a beacon on the New York skyline at night. And here was that same sign. And I decided I was going to go apply for a job right here at W.T. Grant's. So I go walking up to the main entrance of the store. And right there is a sign. They have a lunch counter there. Now, I know places like Woolworth's had a luncheonette. They serve up your basic foods, hamburgers and stuff. But at Grant's, they gave it a fancy name because luncheonette was too common. They called it the Bradford House. Right? And the sign on the window said, Bradford House Special, pancake breakfast with bacon and coffee, all you can eat, mind you, 99 cents, or, yes, there's more, a steak dinner with fries, tossed salad and dressing, roll and butter, only $2.29. Wow, at least I could eat while I work if I get this job, right? We're talking about upscale dining here. Cuisine haute gourmet, as the French would say. If that's how they said it. I took German, so I don't know. Anyway, so the store was unique because all the stores in the shopping center were on ground level, except for Grant's. Grant's was a 2-story job. It had the main floor right there on ground level where you had all your fashions, men's, women's, children's fashions, shoes. The cash registers was there. The Bradford House was there. And then you walk down this big wide set of stairs to the basement, and that's where they had a hardware department. All of your linens, your towels, your household goods were there. Had a pet department where you could buy hamsters, fish, and parakeets. The stockroom was down there, and that's where the business office was. So I climb down the stairs, make a left turn, and I go to this big hole in the wall. It's a window. It's just a big hole in the wall with a Formica countertop. And I walk up, and there's this really pretty young lady crouched down with her back towards me, rifling through a filing cabinet. I'm thinking, this work thing might not be as bad as I thought. You got food here, you got pretty women. Hey, we're good. And so I decide I'm going to put on my best debonair attitude here, and my best voice. And I say, excuse me, miss, can you help me? I think I even raised a right eyebrow when I did that. And she turned around, and my immediate impression of her dissolved quickly when she turned around and said, yeah, what do you want? In a big Jersey accent. I said, oh, okay. I just want to put in an application for a job. And she said, okay, follow me. And she takes a piece of paper off the counter and walks me down the hall to this little broom closet-sized room. And all that's in the room is a box and a chair. So she gives me a pen, gives me the application, and I sit down and start filling it out. And the first question is name. And I write down, yes, I have one. And the next question was address. I say, well, I'd much rather wear pants. I don't want to wear a dress. And the next question said, schooling completed. And I wrote down, debatable. You can see what I was doing here, right? I really didn't want to go to work. James Bond wasn't that important. So I fill out the application, and I take it back up to the office and give it to that young lady, get back out to the truck. My dad's already there, and he's excited. And I said, great, what did you win? And a couple $1,000s? He said, no, I won more tickets. We can play again next week. Oh, great. And the smile dropped off his face, and he looked at me. He said, you didn't put in an application anywhere, did you? I'm like, yeah. Grant's was the only place taking applications. I filled that one out. He kind of looked at me doubtful, and he said, yeah, all right, you tried. That's all you can do. And we went back home, drove back home. No sooner than I set foot in that house, the phone rang. My mom answered it and yelled, hey, Joe, don't go anywhere, telephone. Oh, who could this be, So I pick up the phone and say, hello, this is Joe. And a jolly voice on the other end says, hey, Joe, this is the manager of Grant's. I just got your application. We got an opening for a stock boy. It begins on Monday. Can you come down here so we can talk about the job? I'm like, well, I just got home. And he said, great, I'll see you in a few minutes. And he hung up. Oh, man, this is moving way too fast. We got to slow this train down, Oh, boy, now I've got a job. I am really trapped. So my dad says, okay, I'll take you back down there, climb back in the truck, say hi to Marilyn again, and off we go back down to the shopping center. And I get there, And the young lady now takes me to a bigger room in the basement. It's the stock room. It's just lined wall to wall with boxes. And right in the middle is this big wooden table with a folding metal chair. And the only light in the room is this one single light bulb hanging from an extension cord off the ceiling, right over the middle of the table. And as she leaves, that light starts swinging back and forth. The rest of the room is just pitch black around me, except for this one light swinging. And the next thing I know, the door slams open. Bam! And there's this big man standing in the doorway. I can't see his face. All I see is a shadow. He's being backlit by the lights of the store. And he starts walking towards me, step by step. All I hear is his feet tapping. Tap, tap. I'm thinking, this is a mafia hit job. I am going to die. And finally he walks into the light, and I see he's a jolly, big old rotund fella. And he had these suspenders, big purple suspenders holding up his pants, a bright red bow tie, and just a little bit, just like a quarter to a half inch of a stogie sticking out of his mouth, clenched between his teeth. And he says, "Hey, Joe, I'm the manager. I'm Mr. Motter." And I said, "Oh, what's the matter?" He started laughing. He said, "See, that's what I like about you. I love that application. It was hilarious. You're going to fit in well here." And I thought, oh man, I thought it was my parents that were doing me, and it's me. I'm doing myself in. My parents started the ball rolling, but now I'm just exasperating the whole situation. Oh man, he said, yeah, we want you to start on Monday. And as a matter of fact, you came highly recommended to work here. I'm like, really? I don't know anybody here. He said, oh yeah, a friend of yours, Fred Badger. He starts on Monday too. I'm like, oh, so it's a conspiracy. You know, my mom and dad dropped the bomb with telling me to get a job. Then I screw up the application, and now Fred Badger, my old buddy Badger, he's putting in the final knife in my back. So Monday came, and I started working as a stock boy. And the great thing, though, was having somebody there that I knew that we could commiserate with. But it turned out that the job was one of the best jobs. I tell you, we had such a great time working in that store. Stock boy work isn't the best work in the world. You know, you sweep floors a lot. We had the honor of cleaning the grease out of the Bradford House fryers. Wow. Things like that. We got to bust boxes. That was the most fun because you can stand the boxes up and then use your best kung fu kick. And break them so they were flat and the garbage men could take it away. So we really had a good time. And what made it even better was the staff there. They were just fantastic. Just great people to work with. We had a maintenance man named Zeke. And Zeke was from Mobile, Alabama. Isn't that ironic, where I finally moved to from New Jersey? And all Zeke wanted to do was earn enough money so he could start a vegetable stand in Mobile. That's all he wanted to do. And then we had our assistant manager, just a lovely African-American woman. Her name was Miss Robinson. Don't say she's African-American because she'll say, I'm American. I'm not from Africa. And she was a hoot. She had a great sense of humor, and if she wasn't 20 years older, she'd probably be one of the gang. We were walking through the store. It was me, Badger, and Miss Robinson, and we were walking downstairs where all the sheets and pillowcases and towels are, and there's a big sign that says, Grant's Annual White Sale. And she started laughing. She said, man, it took you like 100 years, but finally, justice. She was a hoot. And, of course, there was Mr. Motter, just a jolly old man. And he would let me and Badger get away with murder because we knew our limit. You know, we knew it was a business, and we knew there's only so much you can do. You know, you can have fun, but to a limit. And Mr. Motter, he started off as a stock boy himself with Grants, and he worked up to a vice president, and now he's the manager of this store. And his eyes were set on that one Astor Plaza, the big Grants building downtown Manhattan, where that's where his goal was. He wanted to be in the corporate office. And so we had a great time working there, a lot of fun. Got my first paycheck. We went to see Live and Let Die not once, and I'm telling you the honest truth, 17 times in the first month. I still watch that movie now, and Jane Seymour never seems to age in that movie. Isn't that remarkable? But it wasn't all fun there. You know, if you work in a service industry, you can relate to this. And it's a lot worse now than it used to be. You know, if you work in restaurants or fast food places, department stores, it's a lot worse now than it was then. But I got to tell you, some of the people you meet in these stores are not friendly at all. They're just evil. They're angry people, and all they want to do is ruin your day. You know, they're having a bad day, you're going to have one too. I'd be walking through the store and the customer walks up, some young lady, and I'll say, "Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?" And they'll say, "What do you mean by that?" "Oh, okay." Or a guy will be walking up. I'll say, "Lovely day outside, isn't it?" And he'll say, "What's the matter with you, you hippie freak?" you know. So me and you can see it's exasperating. I really feel bad for all you people who work in the service industry now because it's 10 times worse. And so me and Badger decided we were going to take a different approach. Like for example, a bald-headed guy walked up to me and growled, "Bet you can't help me. I'm looking for a slipcover." And I looked at his bald head and I said, "I bet you are. I don't think we have one your size, but if you go over to sewing, you might be able to crochet yourself one." Yeah, I'm turning it around. Or there was one lady who was up at the cash register, and she was really just reaming out the cashier up there. Cashier is in tears. And I walk up, and this lady turns around to me and starts yelling at me, "I demand answers. This will not do." And I said, "Will not do what?" She says, "Well, I demand a refund." I said, "Well, take it up with the IRS." And she said, "Well, I purchased this chapstick 30 minutes ago, and upon opening it, I found that it had been used." And I asked her, "So why did you use it?" She said, "I didn't." And I said, "But you said you opened it." She said, "That's right." And I said, "So you used it." And she said, "This bomb has not touched my lips." And I said, "Well, I bet your husband hasn't either." Yeah, we turned the tide, all right. And I know some of you are thinking, "Boy, that is cruel." Let me tell you, if you've worked in this kind of job, some people deserve it, okay? You try to be as nice as you can, and that's what happens. So anyway, everything was going along good. Worked there for a year or two, and getting ready for summer vacation again. And getting ready, I'm going to work the summer. Everything's great now. I'm enjoying work. Things are fine. And I walked downstairs to punch in this one Saturday, and Mr. Motter is leaning up against the wall where our time clock is to punch in. And it looks like all the blood is drained out of his face. He was very sullen, very quiet. And he just looked up at me and said, "Joe, Grant's has gone bankrupt. All of the stores are closing." Like, oh, man. Boy, I tell you, first of all, getting a job was an experience. This was a tough life lesson. I thought when you got a job, you were there for life unless you moved up yourself. But to have the rug ripped out from under you. And it's not bad for me because I was getting ready, my senior year, going to go to the Navy, college, my fantastic radio career, not. But so it didn't bother me. But here's Mr. Motter. This is his life. This was his career. And it's just yanked out from underneath him. Oh, man, it was horrible. It was really a very hard lesson. And so we worked for the next 2 weeks selling everything we could. All the inventory we could sell, we did. And then we stayed open for an extra 2 weeks, and we sold every fixture in the store, right down to the last coat hanger. And before you know it, it was just an empty shell. It was me, Zeke, Miss Robinson, Badger, Mr. Motter, and we're walking through this vacant store. Just a big open, just a shell of a store. Our voices were echoing. And we walk up to the front store where the Bradford house is, or was, and Mr. Motter pulls out some old Bradford house cups. And there's a spigot there we'd never seen before. And he starts pouring this stuff into the cups. And it's golden. It's got white froth on top. And he hands each one of us one of these glasses. And he picks up one for himself. And he holds it up and he says, "I propose a toast to the best crew I have ever had." Oh, man. I broke down. I started crying. And with that, we locked up the store, and that was the end of W.T. Grant's. What's ironic about it is when we started school up our senior year, we had to go on a field trip to New York City. We were going to go see a movie in Midtown Manhattan. And to get to where we were going, we got onto a school bus, and we drove through the Lincoln Tunnel across the Hudson River and ended up driving past One Astor Plaza, the old Grant's building. And as we drove by, I looked at the base of the building, and there, on the ground, mangled, just shattered pieces of plastic and steel and wires, just mangled there on the sidewalk, was the old Grant sign that used to be on the crown of that building. Oh, it was sad. It was broken, just like the company. Hey everybody, this is Joe Cuhaj. Thank you again for joining me this week. And don't forget, you can follow me on Facebook or visit my website, joe-cuhaj.com, C-U-H-A-J. And there you'll find all the latest information about my books, my new books coming out, where I'll be signing autographs and doing presentations. And you can also drop me a line. There's a little contact link up at the top of the screen. Click on that. If you have any questions or comments, send them along, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining me again, and as we leave, R.I.P., Sir Roger.